Begin the news in Nigeria's northeast, where the House of Representatives Committee on the Army visited Borno State, Babangana, Zulum, and the government house in Maiduguri, where the committee conveyed the 10th House of Representatives plan to hold a national stakeholders conference on security. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes this report.
The House of Representatives Committee on Army, led by the chairman, Abdullahi Mahmudu, and his team arrived at the government house in Maiduguri. During the meeting, the committee stressed the importance of collective efforts in tackling the security challenges faced by the nation.
There's going to be a national stakeholders conference organized by the National Assembly to be able to take on the issues of security.
The House Committee acknowledged the critical role that Borno State plays in the fight against insurgency.
I also want to appreciate Nigerians for the patience and for the understanding and tolerance on the present government. We're doing everything within our powers to ensure that there is adequate legal and regulatory frameworks, there is adequate budgetary provisions for the Nigerian armed forces so that they will be able to work assiduously to restore peace back to the country.
The aim of the National Stakeholders Conference is to bring together relevant stakeholders to discuss and find lasting solutions to the security challenges bedeviling Nigeria.
People need to cultivate their farmlands. People need to rear their animals. People need to do their businesses with a view to earning their means of livelihood by themselves. This is the only solution to this crisis.
More military base in strategic locations is what the governor is advocating to help resettled communities engage in full-scale irrigation for food security.
There is a need for government to establish military base in Sambisa, in the shores of the Lake Chad and in Mandara Hills. Our borders are so porous.
He assured them of the state government's full support and cooperation in organizing the National Stakeholders Conference on Security.
Kindly ensure that more funds are injected to procuring equipment. The president is somebody that will listen to all of us. I've known him very well. On my part, as the governor of Borno State, I will continue to provide support to the Nigerian military.
Bringing stakeholders in the National Security Conference and effective implementation of recommendations that will aid proactive measures are key to enjoying relative peace in the country. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Circa will soon come to the way of the displaced people of Okwama community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State following the killing of soldiers and destruction of houses and property. As Governor Sheriff Oboriwori on Wednesday inaugurated Eternally Displaced Persons IDP Management Committee. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu reports that the OVA of Uwu Urobo Kingdom, HRM, Clement Ikulu, also pays the governor a thank you visit after his release from the Nigerian Army custody.
This is the first time the OVA of Iworubo Kingdom is returning to Delta State after spending days in military detention over the killings in Okwama community.
And I thank these people who are here today. They are awesome. I love them all from the depths of my heart.
Meanwhile, Governor Sheriff Oboriwori is here at the Esco Chambers Government House Asaba to inaugurate the IDP Management Committee for the people of Okwama community.
People have been displaced with their homes and property destroyed. This was, still is, unfortunate and most unexpected development.
The governor, who spoke on the essence of enhancing peace and security in his more agenda, charged the committee to carefully plan the resettlement and rehabilitation of the innocent inhabitants of Okwama community.
It's now right for government to set up a committee to plan their resettlement and rehabilitation ahead of their return. This is the minimum we owe our people. We have to reassure them to have a sense of belonging as we make adequate arrangements for their settlement and rehabilitation.
In the same vein, the OVA of Iworubo Kingdom, accompanied by his wife and Council of Chiefs, leadership of the State Traditional Rulers Council are also here at the Government House.
As the OVA of Iworubo Kingdom, It is my solemn duty to uphold the peace and prosperity of our land. I reaffirm my commitment to working collaboratively with all relevant stakeholders, including the government and security agencies, to foster a safe and secure environment for all our citizens. In conclusion, despite the traumatic events of the past few weeks, I am in good health and sound mind.
The challenge before you today is to put you together. Let your people be united, unite people.
Attention was, however, shifted to a private residence in Asaba, where the monarch was given a warm reception by his people.
And I'm sure in a few days from now, either we visit or my husband will be visiting the camp. And I want to thank each and everybody, and I want us to maintain peace. The truth will come out. The government will settle all issues outstanding.
With the inauguration of the committee and return of the monarch to the state, there's huge expectation that the people of Okwama will soon return to their ancestral home to pick up what is left in their lives and begin again. In Asaba, Delta State, for News Central.
Hours after the resignation of Rivers State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Zaccheaus Adango, another commissioner in the oil-rich South State, Isaac Kamalu, has exited the cabinet of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. Like Adango, Kamalu, in a letter to the secretary to the Rivers State government, Tammy Danagogo, on Wednesday, rejected his redeployment from the Finance Ministry to the Ministry of Employment, Generation and Economic Empowerment. Kamalu cited absence of peace in Rivers State despite the peace pacts by President Bola Tinubu last December. He said it was impossible for him to give his best in an atmosphere of rancor. And joining us now to discuss this and more, I'm joined by good governance advocate and executive director, the Extra Step Initiative, Eugene Abels. Eugene, it's good to have you. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us this morning. Let's get started very quickly. And I would like to ask you about the significance of the resignation of Zaccheaus Adango and as well as Isaac Kamalu from Governor Fubara's cabinet in Rivers State.
Well, what has transpired is within the rights of the governor as the chief executive of the state. It is normal for there to be for a chief executive to reshuffle, rejig his administration from time to time. There's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing political about it. It's a decision for efficiency. And if you read the write-up of those who resigned, when they came into office, we knew them as technocrats. They've become political. That's why when they were asked to be restated, my opinion was that if I were both the former Attorney General, I've served for 8 years and it has become political. There was no need for him to come back because the fundamentals of any administration is the SSG, the Attorney General, and the Commissioner for Finance and the Accountant General. These positions, even when people are being appointed or made to become governors, they normally allow those people to choose their own people. These people were chosen by the former Governor Wike, and they have not shown too much respect for the present administration. So naturally, in obedience to the political settlement, they should have been fired. But I think the governor decided to reassign them so that he can run his administration seamlessly.
Let's talk about implications. What implications does their rejection of redeployment hold for the political landscape of Rivers State, particularly regarding the power dynamics between the current governor and the ex-governor?
The implication here is that the governor wants to make his government efficient. I mentioned those fundamental positions, which most of them were occupied. Don't forget that 90% of them were appointed by the former governor. He wants to make his government efficient because the secret of the government is between the Accountant General, the Commissioner for Finance, the Attorney General, and the Secretary to Government. And the implication is that he's taking control of his government by bringing in his own people so that he can work at the kind of speed and give his administration the kind of color he wants to get it.
Right. Let's bring the Peace Pact by President Bola Tinubu. How does it play into the situation, and what does its apparent failure, I'm going to put that in quotation mark, to bring lasting peace, say about the underlying political tensions that we've seen in Rivers State?
Well, the Peace Pact, it was a political settlement. It has not been, sorry, it has not been breached. The governor was asked to restate them. He restated them. The governor has not fired them. He has only reassigned them to also other positions within the cabinet. They are not out of the cabinet. For them, the bigger implication is that these men owe their allegiance to a particular person and not to the people of Rivers State. So their objectives are clearly personal and selfish. So they're adults, so they've taken the decision to leave the administration. The governor did not ask them to leave. He only asked them to be reassigned. Some of them, when they came in the previous administration, they did not hold the same positions all through. It is a normal thing for cabinets to be reshuffled. There's nothing wrong with it. And the governor has shown good faith by adhering, by licking his own wounds, by going to reinstate those people. Now they have just only been reassigned, so there's no problem. And when people speak about peace, I think that Nigerians, we like to use that word peace. When you want to talk about peace, talk about equity and justice. This is the administration of somebody else. He will be responsible for whatever happens. Wike will not be held responsible for these current 4 years that are running. It is him and his father's name that will be responsible. May we allow him to breathe so that he can be measured accordingly. He's done nothing wrong. It is not illegal. It is not politically incorrect. It's absolutely correct. All he did was reassign them. If he had removed them from the cabinet, then we say he's going against the agreement. There's nothing unpeaceful about his actions.
What factors might have contributed to the absence of peace in Rivers State, as cited by Isaac Komalo, despite efforts by political leaders to foster reconciliation?
Excuse me. There's peace in Rivers State. It is about people are seeking for political relevance, and they still have it. It's for them to play within the ambit of the law. Whether you like President Tinubu or not, he is in charge. Final decisions lie with him. Whether you like it or not, Governor Sim Fuwara is in charge and will be responsible for whatever happens in Rivers State. So for all employees and all former elected officials struggling to be very relevant, it should be at the whims and caprices of the present administration. All must be played within the ambit of law. There is peace. It is for public institutions to ensure that politicians, whether on the same side or on the weaker side, do not take things in their hands. And it's for public institutions to be proactive, to react when the laws are being breached so that we don't have a constitutional crisis. Before we talk of peace, we should ensure that all those who are supposed to do those things which are within the law and which requires equity are done. When you do the right thing within the law and institutions of government act accordingly, naturally peace will come. It is when you begin to look the other way and begin to bend the rules, then we begin to talk absence of peace. There's no trouble, there's peace. People are going to work, people are being paid their salaries. Even these people, if you remember River State of 2015, 2016, 2017, they wouldn't, during that period of great tension in River State, they wouldn't even be staying, they would even be walking around the streets. Things have changed drastically. People have learned their lessons. And for those who have left power, they should rest and serve wherever they are being served. River State does not belong to people, to a person. River State belongs to the people, made up of about 26 ethnic nationalities. Let us leave it there. Thank you.
Many thanks to you, Eugene, for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you, Judith.
And that's Eugene Abels. He is a good governance advocate and executive director at the Extra Step Initiative. We'll move away from that now and now to Nigeria's aviation sector, where its Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, has suspended Dana airline operations due to concerns surrounding the safety and financial viability of their operations. The minister also ordered a comprehensive audit of the airline, which will encompass all aspects of safety protocols, maintenance procedures, and financial health to ensure full compliance with aviation sector's regulations. In a letter to the NCAA Director General titled Immediate Suspension of Dana Air Pending Safety and Financial Health Audit, the minister said the move is necessary to ensure safety and regulatory compliance. Keyamo explained that the recent incident underscored the urgency of the matter and the need for swift and decisive action to be taken to safeguard the interests of all stakeholders involved. And out of politics, where the Ondo State People's Democratic Party, PDP, governorship primary election scheduled for the 25th of April 2024 will be conducted by a 7-man primary election committee headed by Bayelsa State Deputy Governor. And he said that 7 aspirants have been cleared by the Senator Sam Egwo screening committee to participate in the primary election. A total of 627 delegates from the 18 local government areas of the state are expected to elect the standard bearer of the party for the November 16, 2024 governorship election. We're going to show a break. When we come back, there's more. Stay with us. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has withdrawn its appeal at the Court of Appeal Abuja, seeking to set aside the interim injunction barring it from arresting the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, for trial. The Anti-graft agency, in its notice of discontinuance dated April 22nd, said its decision to terminate further proceedings on the appeal was based on the fact that the initial order a Kogi State High Court made in favor of the former governor has been overtaken by events. The commission also admitted that the appeal it filed challenging the said interim order was filed outside the time allowed by the law. And still on the EFCC, the commission has taken a strong stance against fraud by warning the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, to submit himself to the Anti-graft agency, saying that there is no hiding place for him. Similarly, the agency also arrested former Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika over an ongoing 8.6 billion naira money laundering probe. This has thrown light on how focused and determined the drive from the EFCC has been in combating corruption. And now to further discuss this, I'm being joined by Comrade Ene Obi, former country director, Action Aid Nigeria. And a very good morning to you. Let's get started very quickly. On one hand, EFCC wants Yahaya Bello to submit himself and says he was invited when his tenure ended, but he refused to honor the invitation. Now, on the other hand, his media team says he's not running from the law. EFCC never invited him. It's a bit confusing, and some say it's emboldened the whole drama as politically motivated. What should citizens be focusing on at this point?
I think, thanks for having me. And it's unfortunate what is going on, because mine is, yes, the governor, if he has done something, he should be answerable. The issue of sanctions not being meted to those who do wrong in this country is what is wounding the economy of this country. And so when you are focusing on Governor Yahaya Bello, yes, if he's wrong, he should be answerable to it. Every Nigerian, we are all equal before the law. If it's some other Nigerian who does not have a position somewhere, the person would have been arrested a long time ago and taken. But because he's a governor, we are playing lip service. EFCC is even having time and saying, we are inviting you, please come. I saw the video of the EFCC chairman saying we have invited him severally, we have talked to him. He even said, you could come to my office and they will interview you there. Everybody should be treated the same. But I think my own problem is not about just Yahaya Bello, about all other people who have wronged the country. I remember before taking an appointment outside the country about, in 2011, the then EFCC chairman, Farida Waziri, had a press conference just before I departed. And she said about 400 cases were proven in court by the EFCC, and they even actually published it. And he said, as at the time of coming to, the press conference, that the court had only been able to hear 100 cases. And when cases are proven, it means that thorough investigation had been done and people were supposed to charge. So as at that time, 300 cases had not been, heard by the court. And most of them included former governors. Majority of the cases were against former governors who had looted the treasury of this country. And nobody, so the worrisome act is that many of them gain entrance into the parliament. Many of them are the ones in the Senate today. So after 8 years of looting the treasury, you are not questioned. Nobody can question you, and you quickly hide yourself in the Senate. I'm not saying everybody in the Senate is is guilty of this, but all of those who are guilty of this, they have never been charged. They are sitting comfortably and they are challenging any incoming, president, so that they don't have cases. When cases are raised, you see that even all the colleagues who rise against them, and they make sure they take that case from the court, or the cases are never heard. And people should not, individual cases should not be settled. But on Yahaya Bello, he needs to answer the law, and you should not be treating, anybody with a kid glove. Yes.
Let's put Bello's drama that's unfolding on the side. You're talking about EFCC's efforts, and you're talking about, the past chairman of the EFCC and all of their efforts at the time. But there are those who say EFCC ongoing efforts, including the questioning of the former aviation minister, is a testament of their anti-corruption fight. Do you agree as well?
Is a settlement of what?
Of their anti-corruption fight is a testament of their commitment to their fight against corruption.
It's a fight against corruption. We have to look at the antecedents. The past EFCC chairman even had a case about, on the current president. What happened to the case? When the president came, the first thing he did was to fire that very EFCC chairman. And what has happened to the case? And what has happened to all of the other cases? So when you choose, it's like the case of Beta Edu, when it came, a lot of people say, oh, women say they can rule. Now women are looting the treasury. I say, how many men have looted? I'm not saying that Beta Edu is not answerable. She should answer, but every other person should answer to the things that they have done. Remember that all of these people said, I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest. I wonder what God is doing with them. God is not a human being. If not, you took a pledge and you swore to an oath to defend the Constitution of Nigeria. It means you are going to be transparent and accountable for every penny that you get in office. But when you get there, you do what you want. And, there's a lot of wastages. And we're having this discussion at a time where we have more than 80 million Nigerians living below the poverty line. We are having a discussion, not even below the poverty, in extreme poverty. The ones below the poverty line is about 140 million out of the 200 million Nigerians. So how many people are going to bed hungry every night? Yahaya Bello, in many cases, he didn't pay, salaries. I remember one director that committed suicide after his wife had a twin. And for about a year, he had not been paid. And many other governors of so many states have not paid. They did not pay salaries, and they were getting, a federal allocation every month. Who has ever checked them? What they do quickly, you see, Yahaya Bello's time, happened at the time he was still a governor, and then you had to contest for Senate. It wasn't time for him to give up the seat, and so he couldn't give up the seat. So he's not protected. Why is it particular? You remember that Yahaya Bello also contested, against the incumbent. Not the incumbent, against the president in terms of wanting to be the president of Nigeria. And so when we look at it, why are you picking one person? Is it all the governors that were in government at that time? Why is EFCC not going after them? So I'm not saying they should not go after Yahaya Bello. They should go after him, but they should go after every other governor who has looted the treasury, because majority of them were not paying salaries. Very few of them were paying salaries. What happened? Can you imagine not being paid for one year? So many of the governors are killers of their people.
We hope to see what will happen in the coming days, and we'll watch as this entire campaign against anti-corruption unfold, especially with the governors and past ministers. But then many thanks for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'll move now to Nigeria's capital, and that is Abuja, the federal capital of territory, where motorists have complained about the continuous extortion from revenue collectors attached to the area councils within the capital. They say they continue to face harassment and extortion as they are allegedly forced to pay for several levies and unspecified penalties, including being issued fake receipts by the revenue collectors. Our correspondent Imarayi Joshua tells us more.
Why they do this kind of thing now? But it's not.
Angry motorists being apprehended by area council revenue collectors.
What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?
While many of these videos were captured with a hidden camera, the situation is clear as many of the victims express a sign of helplessness.
I did wrong. I appealed for the paper. I went to the office. They did it. They did not tell me. They did not tell me that I have to go to different office.
Some of the motorists say they have been allegedly extorted and coerced into paying unspecified fines along with receiving fake receipts.
That's for Amax. You paid for Amax. You paid everything.
Despite the unclear nature of their activities, these men persist in operating under the guise of being government agents.
Behind me is the Abuja Municipal Area Council office, where we try to get reactions from officials but have been unable to. However, a source who spoke to us off camera says those who perpetrate this act are not employed by the area council but by consultants.
We don't know who are the real one and who are the fake one among them. The government should come out and speak, because the way they harass people, even the workers, they are looking for their daily bread. When you come to drop people, they will harass you. Because I'm seeing it like it doesn't help us. They're living in a place called Federal Capital FCT.
If you look at their work, it's also conflicting with that of the state government thing. So there's a conflict on who is going to pay tax to who. But the most important thing is that it's the public that is suffering. So the government needs to make a policy to differentiate from the local government to the state government.
I feel it is necessary for such people to be in the system. It's necessary for those people to have the authority and power to carry out, you understand, their jobs. And also on the other side, it will make Nigerians too to become responsible to get their own papers all the time. If the local government council establishes a particular department and their employees are meant to carry out a particular responsibility, and the revenue does not come back to the local government, the local government to at least set up a task force to ensure that such thing does not happen again, or the culprits, you understand, are brought to book.
Some motorists also alleging that these revenue collectors act in league with the police. They say this makes the situation more complicated, as there is definitely no help in sight for victims. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
The federal government has given Julius Berger a construction company till December 2024 to complete the Boni-Bodo Road project. Now, this followed a heated argument at the Ministry of Works with the minister and other stakeholders following a request for a 28 billion naira variation of the project due to the current level of inflation before it can mobilize back to site. The minister approved 20.5 billion naira for the project, warning that if it is not completed, it will be revoked. Amadi Nui reports.
It was a heated session between the contractor, Julius Berger constructing the Boni-Bodo Road in Rivers State, representatives of the Boni Peace Committee, and officials from the Ministry of Works. while the contractor gave reasons demanding a 28 billion naira variation to complete the road project. This did not go down well with other representatives.
And when we signed or when we offered the project in 2013, we are talking about a diesel price of 142 naira per liter. 142. Today we are buying diesel, let me say, by 1,500, 1,600 naira per liter. In 2013, the bitumen per tonnage cost 152,000 naira. Today, we have to buy bitumen for 1.2 million naira.
I was going through the file on this project, and I discovered that there was an agreement, a caveat, whereby the final figure was weighted to 199.923 billion.
Correct.
For Julius Berger to finish this project by December 2023. And the caveat is
very clear.
No further price variation.
Your Excellency, I'm saying it's not from you. The part of the mistake is from your staff. I'm telling them to their faces. How can you go and start signing a contract when you don't have the quantities defined by the contractor? That's crazy. For example, this magnitude for a nation state. So, Your Excellency, you inherited, permit me to use a good word, the gonorrhea.
There was a time it was very rosy. There was a time the foreign exchange, this thing was very good. And Beja benefited and benefited. So if in doing 16% of the work, there are sacrifices to be made, this is the time you know who are your friends.
The minister agreed for a variation of 20.5 billion naira, but warned that the road must be completed by December 2024.
This is additional 20.5 billion. All conditions are waived, and the job must be completed in December 2024. There is no increase in any VOP. There is no increase in any other thing. Is taken as given. And these are the conditions of this offer. If Beja is willing, they should do a letter to us to accept. If by Friday morning I don't get a letter, I will reverse back to my initial position to terminate or to Mr. President to approve all their conditions.
He urged all parties to make sacrifices, saying the nation is going through a lot of challenges. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And the news continues in West Africa, where some critics in Togo say ruling Union for the Republic, UNIR, party will likely hold on to its large parliamentary majority in the country's April 29th elections. This is despite ongoing controversy surrounding the constitutional reform approved by lawmakers earlier this month to switch the country from a presidential to a parliamentarian system. This is a change that opposition parties say will allow the president to extend his grip on power. However, a lawyer and former Parliament Relations Minister Jean Yaovi Dalig says the country should not expect much from the legislative elections. And in Southern Africa, the South Africa 2024 elections draw closer. Smaller parties contesting the elections are out to upset bigger parties as they expect a bigger share of votes. Questions are being raised about the value of smaller parties in a terrain that is already highly contested. Voters will be spoiled for choice next month with a record number of parties as well as independents contesting the polls. At least more than 30 political parties are contesting the national and provincial elections for the first time. Can small parties punch above their weight at the polls? And do they have capacity or capabilities of more established parties? And joining us to answer these questions and more, I'm being joined by the head of communication and national chairperson, Able Leadership Party, and that's Gennaro Obisi. Gennaro, Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get started. Elections are just around the corner. As one of the political parties contesting, what is the mood like among South Africans, and what patterns have you observed that might be at play for voters this time around?
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. From what we have observed, I think a lot of people, voters, are actually excited. They are ready to cast their votes. They are actually ready even more than some of the political parties, but the voters themselves are actually more than ready to vote. We see that when we are busy doing our campaigns, people are always telling us, some, even those who are not registered, now they start to feel like they've made a mistake for not registering. And also to support this, you can see by the number of people who have registered to vote is the highest number ever. And this is actually a practical example to indicate that people are actually ready to vote. They are excited and they just want to cast their vote. Yeah.
Right. And what specific policies or initiatives does the ABLE party plan to implement if voted into power? And how do they aim to benefit the people of South Africa?
Look, South Africa does not have many problems. The only problem that South Africa have is leadership. So ABLE Leadership is an organization that is going to provide good leadership that is going to create actually a conducive environment for everyone to thrive in South Africa. The policies that we think are going to help us to achieve that, one of which we are going to talk about the education system in South Africa, which is actually not creating people to employ others, it's not creating people to be self-sufficient, to be self-reliant. So we are saying as ABLE Leadership, we need to have an education system that is actually going to create employers themselves, that is going to create people who are going to contribute meaningfully in the economy of.
Right.
The current system is actually creating zombies and okay.
No, go ahead, please. I thought you paused.
Oh, okay. I was saying the current system is actually creating zombies in South Africa, people who are dependent, people who are actually controlled. But we are saying that the system now it needs to be changed. We don't want a system that is creating employees only. The current system is actually a replica of the old Bantu system, if you may remember. We had the so-called Bantu system where the minority were actually creating a system that is going to need them to get employees from black people. So we are saying we want to decolonize the system. Yes, according to the current government, they are defining this one as a decolonized system. But the reality is that it still produces the same product that even the Boers before were creating. So we want to create a new system that is actually going to create people who are actually going to create that are going to contribute meaningfully in the economy. Secondly, the justice system, as you can see, you have a disjuncture between the SAPS and the justice system. Well, the justice system is doing their role, which is contrary from the SAPS, and the SAPS also do whatever they do with their own minister. There are two ministers. We think if we can have at least one minister that is going to man those portfolio, because the two portfolios should actually become one portfolio, so that we have a synergy and a linkage between the SAPS and the justice system. But the current system now is not doing justice for us.
Right. Gennaro, many thanks for coming on. We appreciate you for doing this with us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And that's Gennaro Ubisi there. We'll move away from that now and we head to East Africa, where prominent Mauritanian human rights activist and opposition figure Brima Ould Daoud Abdi, runner-up in the last presidential election, has announced his candidacy for the June 29th election. He made the announcement at a rally in Nouakchott in the Mauritanian capital. The first round will take place on June 29th with a possible second round on July 14th. Mauritanian president said he would run for a second term in presidential elections due in June. The 67-year-old president has been at the helm of the vast West African country since 2019 and provided stability in the Sahel region. And we move on now to business in Nasarawa State in Nigeria, where the government there says that it is set to commission Nigeria's first and West Africa's largest lithium processing plant domiciled in the state. The state governor, Abdullahi Sule, made this known in Abuja as he unveiled plans for the state's second Business and Investment Summit coming up in May, saying that the state will use the summit to launch its industrialization plans, which will hopefully transform the fortunes of its residents. Amadin Uyi reports.
The first Business and Investment Summit in the state took place in 2022 and was largely regarded as a success.
The inaugural summit, Nasarawa Investment Summit, first of its kind in the history of Nasarawa State, was held on March 11 and 12, 2022. And it was launched as a biannual platform to showcase the investment opportunities in Nasarawa State. It was attended by over 1,000 participants, physically in Lafia and also virtual.
With plans already concluded for a second Business and Investment Summit, the state governor says that the state is hoping to bet an industrial revolution. He says this is crucial for the development of the state.
The theme for this year is going to be industrial renaissance, and I was trying to say, why are we selecting industrialization again when it comes to the area of in Nasarawa State? Definitely, industrialization plays a major role in economic development, creating employment opportunities and improving the quality of life of citizens. And these are areas of focus as far as we are concerned in Nasarawa State.
The governor also adds that the state will leverage on the availability of minerals, which have been found in large commercial quantities in the state, notably lithium. He says that the state hopes to commission its first lithium processing plant.
Nasarawa State is becoming the real focus when it comes to lithium. Now, the advantage of the lithium in Nasarawa State that we are hearing is not necessarily just because of the fact that we have it in commercial quantity, but the purity of the lithium that we have in the state is the major attraction. We are focusing on industrialization in order to create all this. The commissioning of the first mining site, for processing of lithium is going to be coming up.
The governor also adds that the state is hoping to leverage on its large gas reserves and the recent discovery of oil in commercial quantities. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And that's all in the news at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Nigeria's Aviation Minister orders immediate suspension of Dana Air. Togo's constitutional reform impacts upcoming election. Human rights activists to run for president in Mauritania. Now remember that you can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. And do follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTime channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith at TV.